Many times when I read the Gospels, I'm struck by and I appreciate the humility and transparency and vulnerability of the apostles. Because Peter and Andrew and James and John and all the rest, they allow their journey of learning and discovery about who Jesus is to be shared with everybody for the rest of all time. And they also, in doing so, allow all their weaknesses, their misunderstandings, where they got things wrong. They're humble enough to share all that to help all of us to know who Jesus is. I say that because today our passage comes from Mark chapter 9, verses 30 to 41. And this is not long after Jesus' prediction of the Passion. And then the disciples end up having an argument about who's the greatest, which is really ridiculous. And in Mark chapter 9, verse 35, Jesus hears this. He asks, "What were you arguing about on the way?" Then it says, "He sat down, called the 12, and said to them, 'Whoever wants to be first must be last of all and servant of all.'" And this is an inversion of the way people think. Remember in chapter 8, in verses 31 to 38, Jesus had rebuked Peter for setting his mind on human things, not divine things. And here we have an example of it. Jesus has told them he's going to suffer, he's going to be rejected, he's going to be killed. And they're arguing about who's the greatest among the 12. And they're thinking about human things again and not divine things. And so Jesus' teaching, Jesus' way of life, life in the kingdom of God, is so much about an inversion of how the world thinks. It's an inversion or a flipping on its head of the values of the world. And that's why Jesus so often will use that phrase, "and the first will be last, and the last will be first," because Jesus is turning the values of the world upside down. And so Jesus says, whoever wants to be first, or another way of saying that is, if you want to be great, be last, and be the servant or the slave of all. Christianity is not about elevating ourselves. It's not about turning a brighter spotlight on ourselves. It's not about climbing a ladder of success. It's about descending into greatness. That's what we do as followers of Jesus, as we seek to serve everybody else we come in contact with. We take the lowest place. We don't try to lift ourselves up over everybody else. And the very fact that the disciples were arguing about who is the greatest shows that their minds and their spirits are not yet where they need to be in following Jesus. Let another praise you, and not your own lips, the proverb says, and that's still very true.